The morning had started like every other morning in CEO Margaret Ellis's life. Controlled, scheduled, and ruthlessly efficient. Her black SUV moved through the city streets at exactly 7:43 a.m., the same time it always did, carrying her toward the glass tower, where 400 employees waited for her decisions. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Margaret sat in the back seat reviewing quarterly projections on her tablet, barely glancing at the world outside. She had built Ellis Industries from nothing, clawing her way through boardrooms, where men twice her age had tried to dismiss her, and she had learned early that stillness was weakness and vulnerability, was a luxury she could not afford. She wore her success like armor. At 41, she had everything the world said she should want. A penthouse apartment, a company worth hundreds of millions, a name that made headlines. What the world did not know was how hollow the armor felt at 3 in the morning, when the apartment was too quiet and the projections on her tablet blurred into meaningless numbers. Sitting beside her in the passenger seat was Daniel Carr, a personal assistant of 2 years. He was 34. Quiet in a way that made him invisible to most people, efficient in a way that made him indispensable to her. He anticipated her needs before she voiced them, handled her schedule with calm precision, and never once overstepped. Margaret knew almost nothing about him except that he was punctual, thorough, and that he occasionally had to leave at exactly 3:15 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays for a reason he had never explained, and she had never bothered to ask. That Tuesday morning, as their SUV crossed the Henderson Bridge, the truck came from nowhere. It ran the red light at the intersection, struck the side of their vehicle with a sound like thunder splitting the earth, and the world spun. Margaret felt the impact throw her sideways, heard glass, felt heat, and then everything stopped. She was not unconscious. The seatbelt had held. Her head had struck the window, but not hard enough to knock her out. And when she opened her eyes for just a fraction of a second, she saw the airbags deflated, saw Daniel slumped over the dashboard catching his breath, saw the crumpled hood of their car against a concrete divider. She heard voices outside and people rushing toward the vehicle, someone shouting for an ambulance. And then something inside her, something she could not fully explain, told her to close her eyes again. Perhaps it was the shock. Perhaps it was something older and quieter, the part of her that had spent 20 years performing and desperately wanted just once to stop. She closed her eyes and lay still. She heard Daniel move. Beside her, heard him check her pulse with trembling fingers, heard him exhale a long breath when he felt it beating steadily. "She's alive," he said to himself, barely a whisper. Thank God. He called emergency services, gave the location, spoke calmly despite the crack in his voice, and when the call ended, Margaret heard him do something she had never heard from him before. He cried, not dramatically, not loudly, just a few quiet, exhausted tears that he seemed to fight against and lose. He must have believed she was unconscious. He must have believed no one was listening. "I can't lose another person," he said softly, his voice barely reaching her ears over the sounds of traffic and distant sirens. "I just can't." Margaret lay completely still. Her heart was beating faster now, not from the accident, but from those 6 words and the weight they carried. She heard him breathe through the emotion, steady himself, and then he did something that undid her completely. He pulled out his phone and called someone. She heard a small voice answer, high, bright, the unmistakable voice of a young child. "Daddy, are you okay? Your number came up weird." "Hey, baby girl," Daniel said, and his voice transformed entirely, becoming something softer than anything Margaret had ever heard from an adult human being. "I'm okay. I just wanted to hear your voice for a second." "Are you at school?" "Not yet. Mrs. Patterson is making us wait outside." "Daddy, why are you crying?" "I'm not crying. I just have something in my eye." "Listen, I want you to have a good day, okay? I want you to raise your hand in class and eat all your lunch and be kind to the new kid, the one you told me about." "Emma," Emma, yes. Be kind to Emma. Can you do that for me? I always am, Daddy. I know you are, he said, and his voice broke again on those 4 words. I know you are. You're so much better than me at that. Your mom would be so proud of you. I want you to know that. Whatever happens, I want you to always know that. The small voice on the other end was quiet for a moment. Is something wrong, Daddy? No, sweetheart. Everything is fine. I just love you so much it needed to come out. Go learn something today. I'll pick you up at 3. Okay, Daddy, I love you too. The call ended. Margaret felt something move through her chest that she had no name for. She had heard the whole thing and she understood now what Tuesdays and Thursdays meant: a school pickup, a little girl, a life Daniel had been living entirely outside the 45 minutes of small talk she had never offered him. She understood something else too. He had said your mom would be proud of you. Past tense. Quiet and final. She lay still for another moment as the sirens grew closer, as paramedics began shouting outside the car, as Daniel spoke to them in that same calm, reliable voice. He used to manage her calendar and confirm her meetings. He told them she was breathing, that her pulse was steady, that she had not been visibly injured in any obvious way. He answered every question they asked, and then, when they began working on the door to reach her, Margaret heard him say one more thing, not to the paramedics, not to anyone, just to the air and to himself and accidentally to her. She works so hard, he said quietly. I hope she's okay. I hope she gets to rest. Those 9 words broke something open in Margaret Ellis. The 20 years of success had sealed shut. The paramedics reached her. She let them believe she was coming around slowly. They checked her vitals, asked her questions, helped her sit upright. She blinked into the light as though returning from somewhere far away, which, in a sense, she was. Daniel was standing outside the car, a small cut on his forehead, watching her with relief so genuine it was painful to look at. You're okay, he said when her eyes met his. You're going to be okay. Margaret looked at him, really looked at him, maybe for the first time, and nodded. She was taken to the hospital for observation and spent the afternoon in a room that smelled like antiseptic and quiet. She was discharged by evening with no serious injuries and a stack of paperwork. She did not read. Daniel had arranged everything as he always did. He had contacted her board, postponed her meetings, coordinated with the building manager, and left a neatly typed summary of everything on her phone by the time she walked out of the hospital. At the bottom of the summary, below the meeting reschedules and the insurance information, he had written, "Please rest tonight. Everything can wait until tomorrow." She sat in the new car that had been arranged for her and did not give the driver her home address. She gave him an address across the city instead, a modest neighborhood, with a grocery store on the corner and a small school a block away. She did not know the exact address. She did not need to. She bought flowers from the grocery store. Nothing extravagant, just something warm and alive, and she sat on a bench across from the school and thought about what it meant to work alongside someone for 2 years and know nothing real about them. She thought about a little girl named Emma, who had a father who reminded her that she was already more than enough. She thought about what Daniel had said, that she worked so hard, and how he had said it not with resentment, but with something that sounded almost like concern. The next morning, Margaret arrived at the office before anyone else. She left an envelope on Daniel's desk. Inside was a handwritten note, which was unusual for her because she never handwrote anything. It said, "I know I have never asked about your life outside this office. I should have. I am asking now, when you are ready, if you would like to tell me about your daughter. I know she must be remarkable. Take this Friday off, paid, no questions. You deserve more rest than I have ever thought to offer you." She signed it simply with her first name. Not CEO Margaret Ellis, not Ms. Ellis, just Margaret. She did not know what would come next. She did not know if Daniel would say anything or if things would simply continue and slowly become more human than they had been before. What she knew was this: sometimes it takes an accident to stop performing. Sometimes you need to close your eyes and listen to the world that has been quietly existing around you while you were too busy to notice. She had heard a man love his daughter across a phone call in a broken car. She had heard grief carried gracefully. She had heard kindness offered freely to a woman who had never earned it. And it had changed her in a way that no quarterly projection ever could. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it touched your heart the way it touched mine, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to our channel for more stories just like this one. This is Kindness True Stories, and we believe that the most powerful moments in life are the ones that no one was supposed to see.